because we're going to have...
The
I
big
mean,
question is, of course, what makes this deck that good?
yeah, it's so just Union Hanger is really, really strong, and the fact that you can play 6 of them, in the fact that you can play terraforming, it's really good. As soon as you play Union Hanger, you get the +1 from getting a card from Union Hanger, and then immediately you get another plus from the monster that you summon. If all that goes through, it's like even better than Pot of Greed in a sense of pure card advantage.
It's definitely another one of those decks that really likes to go first.
Yeah.
And so there were 2 different ways to tackle this when asking people, are you going to play ABC this weekend? There were some veteran players that said, I don't want to play it because when you play a mirror match, when you play against somebody who's playing the same archetype, it really depends on the cards that you drew at the beginning.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you here. Marcello's actually opened really busted. He's got both gadgets and Union Hanger. So that means he gets to play a gold gadget, which acts a lot like Marauding Captain, lets him summon the second gadget. That gadget also has the same effect as the gold gadget, where you get to summon another monster. Union Hanger activates, he gets to attach that B-Buster Drake. Into Tsukiyomi. The B-Buster Drake's going to go and search for the missing piece of the puzzle, the Sea Crush Wyvern. And then we're going to see Tsukiyomi use its effect. He's got cards that he can set as well. This is, wow. This is actually a really, really good opener.
Oh, okay. So on a scale from 1 to 10.
Yeah.
How good is this opening?
It's about 7 George Clooney's.
Ooh.
Yeah, about 7 George Clooney's. It'd be 6 George Clooney's if he'd have opened Infinity, but you can't have it all. So yeah, he's going to go ahead and play Pot of Desires now. Quickly counting out those 10 cards, and then draws 2 cards. So
did he look at the 10 cards? He did. He's doing
now.
Yeah, yeah. That was one of the things that we talked about in Rimini. Why would you not look at the cards that you counted out?
Yeah,
that you lost.
Yeah, it
because
always
changes so much about what outs you have to a situation.
Yeah. And it also decides how many Buster Drakes you can really kind of use if your opponent interrupts you a lot.
Right.
So yep, there's the Buster Drake coming out here. ABC. Buster Dragon.
So this is one of the boss monsters of the deck, of course.
This is the boy himself, ABC Dragon Buster. So he's the whole reason why you really play this deck is the ABC deck.
You just said the Union Hanger was the reason to play this deck.
That's a good card in the deck. He's the boy.
Yeah, if you don't end with something, it's still not good enough, basically.
Yeah.
Like, even if you have all these good combos and everything.
His name's on the door. Well, yeah, his name's on the door. So yeah, if you're gonna end with anything, end with a Dragon
I
Buster.
just I couldn't help it, but I just imagined that in my head. You're like ringing on somebody's door, the door opens, and then this is in front of you, and you're like, whoa, wait a second.
Whoa. But you expected it, right? Because his name was on the door.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of the things. Like I said this earlier. ABC just seems like somebody filled in like. They just wrote something down before they could come up with something else. It's like a placeholder, really. So when you read a name on the door like ABC, you're like, he just forgot to write his name sign or something. maybe because they just moved in or something like that, and then this happens, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah. Well, these guys just moved in, and they're doing pretty well right now.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got
let's bring the
he's got a
field up again.
strike. He's got a strike and a Dragon Buster, and he's got space to make the Dragon Buster split up as well.
Don't forget about the warning. Also good card.
Warning as well as strike.
Yeah,
it's got
warning and strike.
Okay, yeah, this is a pretty difficult puzzle here.
So let's talk about Metalfoes. Kyle, of course, is playing Metalfoes. This is his opening hand. Currently played the Arcfiend Eccentric.
Yeah.
What makes this deck tick?
So it's very consistent, this deck, in the way that it works, because all of the monsters have the exact same effect. All of them, well, they do.
Yeah,
they actually do.
It's just super funny. Like, it's very consistent because everything does the same thing.
Yeah, so all of the Metalfoes monsters can destroy one of your cards to then go and search for a spell and trap, a Metalfoes spell and trap. So it's, basically, even if you open a hand just full of Metalfoes monsters, you can still do something by ping-ponging between the scales, destroying the scales in either side of the scale, and then pendulum summoning them all back.
Okay.
And then you don't really lose any advantage because you've just set a load of cards, and then the pendulum summon is the advantage play.
Right.
So yeah, we still see Kieran being
Kirin
used here.
used to be one of the best cards.
Yeah.
Still a very good card, of
Well,
course.
oh no, it definitely is. That's the reason why it was limited on
Yeah.
the last Forbidden Unlimited list.
It could shut down decks all on its own, of
Yeah.
course, thanks to its effect.
Yeah. It's just the fact that, so like this is the prime example as to why it was limited. So Marcello had an answer for it the first time around, and that's it now. He doesn't have to deal with that again.
Right.
Whereas when it was at 3, it would be, oh, okay, that's fine. He dealt with one of my Kirins. Let's go get number 2, number 3.
It's one of those cards that when you talk to one of the veterans, somebody like Joshua Schmidt, and you ask them about Kirin, they just chuckle, really. Like,
Yeah.
for them, it's so obvious that this card is really, really good
Yeah.
that they just got tired of explaining it to somebody else.
Yeah.
So you ask them, what do you think about Kirin? And they just like, yeah. And then you're like, what do you mean? And they say, yeah, it's like that good. You just put it down,
Yeah.
and against certain decks, it just means the game is over. And then
Yeah.
you look at them like, did they just exaggerate or something? Did they just try to make a point by exaggerating in some way? And they're like, no, this is factually what it is like.
Yeah,
You play this card, and the game is over. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
It really is that good. So we see the other effect of Dragon Buster here. So you contribute it to bring back all of your pieces of the Dragon Buster.
Flashback memories of the Yu-Gi-Oh enemy with Kaiba doing those moves, basically.
Yeah, yeah. So my XYZ Dragon Cannon is going to be destroyed.
Pretty much.
Quickly split back into XYZ. Yeah.
We should totally hire the guys that did the voiceovers for the anime for this kind of stuff.
Eric Stewart.
And then I want to have like a soundboard, so I can just press a button and then like something like "Union Monsters." It just goes like this the whole time.
Yugi. Yeah, that would be pretty damn cool.
You're underestimating my monsters, and then it just goes on and on.
Yeah, that would be cool.
All right, so this looks as one-sided as it gets, to be honest, with like 5 monsters on the field on one side for Marcello.
Yeah.
And just 3 back rows, and of course a pendulum scale for Kyle.
So another thing, so Union Hanger, because it wasn't good enough, it actually works in your opponent's turn as well. So when you split up the Dragon Buster, you get to equip another one, just ready for next turn.
Please, guys, hashtag this. It wasn't good enough. Yeah, like, I wanna read some cool comments on this one.
Yeah. So the 7 George Clooney opening was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yesterday, some players asked you about, so are these cards being play tested? And then you went into great detail how there are dedicated groups of players that basically do nothing else but play test the whole time.
Yeah.
And really look into how these cards are interacting and everything. And then the obvious question from somebody who's asking about the playtesting is like, okay, but how does a card like Union Hanger makes it through still?
Yeah.
I mean, of course, it's pushing an archetype that has been neglected for the better part of 7 years or something. So it kind of sounds fair that these guys are now having their shot.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think it's one of those things where if you directly compare what Union Hanger does to some other cards in the game, then it's probably not as strong. I think even overall right now, the power level of all of the decks, if you put all the decks' power levels together and compare it to previous formats, let's say Necros or Dragon Rulers or the Pendulum, when Pendulums first came out, then nowhere near. Like, even in the best ABC opening, you would still be able to win with the Pendulum deck.
Right.
I just think overall the power levels are much lower, but relatively, yes, Union Hanger is a very good
when
card.
you compare it to the other decks in the format.
Yeah.
All right, but we're going to see that this weekend. I mean, we also had some deck features of players that went. Jared Stone, the UK national champion, who went with Lightsworn, with Minerva.
Yeah.
So, we should always add that because it makes a world of a difference.
Yeah.
And also we have Thomas from the Netherlands who was playing Dark Synchro. It's like another version of the Synchro Fusionist deck.
Yeah.
And he also said, yeah, it's a really consistent deck, really strong deck. And
Yeah.
he has. This is an interesting feature because he's going to talk about stats a little bit. He really crunched the numbers and he came up with like more than 78%, 78.5 or something like that.
Nice.
Is his chance to just finish the game in turn 1 if he starts. So he really put in the extra hours, literally, to make sure that he's coming prepared this weekend.
Yeah, so Marcello here is really just showing why this deck is as strong as it is. I mean, if you can see how he was able to split up his Buster Drake and then send them all to the graveyard again via using Exceed monsters that his opponent had to deal with somehow.
And that is it. Marcello Barberi wins the first game in very convincing fashion, like you were just explaining.
Yeah.
Early lead for the veteran. I think he's always done good on UK soil, to be honest, because the year after YCS London in 2013, 13, sorry,
13.
the first one. After that one, the next year he was undefeated in the Swiss rounds.
Yeah, and
There was I'm mixing. Patrick Reeder won the first one.
And
Marcello was the one
the
who
second
lost.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he won the second one.
Yeah, but you're right. Patrick Reeder went undefeated in
The one
Swiss.
after, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think so obviously he's first after Swiss, and I think he played against Marcello in the top 64.
And then lost.
And then lost, of course, yeah, because Marcello.
Actually, yeah, because Marcello snuck into the top cut. He was
Right,
He was in the
33rd, and then there was a result erroneously entered or something.
Yeah, something happened. I can't quite remember.
And
exactly
then suddenly he
what it
was 32nd. So, yeah, that's why we called him the luckiest player in the tournament.
Mhm.
Not in terms of he just got
He's
so
so
lucky the
lucky,
whole
yeah.
time, but more like wow, he felt like his weekend was over. Suddenly he was in the tournament,
Yeah.
and then he goes on and wins it.
Yeah, that must have been a real roller coaster of
Yeah,
emotions.
yeah, like
It's like 33rd. Oh my gosh.
and then
Yeah.
suddenly you're in, and you just move on and move on. Like nobody can kick you out.
Mhm.
All right. So in between games now, these guys are now side decking. What is going to change? I mean, I think the biggest difference between game 1 and game 2 is going to be that Kyle is starting, so he can set up before Marcello can unleash any other combos. Isn't that the big difference maker?
Yeah, generally that's always been the case with pendulums, that you're able to get that setup going, and then your opponent just can't really do much. And he's also playing the Alpha Mage Sloth as well, which is a really cool tech card that a lot of people have been playing at the moment, that allows you to so it's just a big monster, and it allows you to stop them from summoning from the extra deck. That's just its monster effect. It outright just says neither player can summon monsters from the extra deck.
Yeah.
But it's a big monster, so you've got to pendulum summon it. It's got a reasonable attacks, 250, and good pendulum scale as well. It's a low pendulum scale.
Right. In the last format, with the pendulum deck being somewhat dominant, there were cards like Anti-Spell Fragrance that would just shut these decks down all on their own.
That's still a thing.
Okay, of course, but like, is there a card that shuts down the ABC deck in similar fashion?
Yes. Well, not exactly the same as Anti-Spell Fragrance, but System Down is pretty good.
Of course, because all of them are machines.
Yeah, and even if they've got Dragon Buster on the field and you play System Down, they can't like chain it and it resolve in a nice fashion for them. It will always banish all of their monsters.
Right. So I think it has an activation cost, if I remember. Was it
System Down? I think it's only like pay 1,000 life points. It's
Pay 1,000,
pretty
yeah.
much nothing.
But that's a
To be honest,
price worth paying.
yeah. Even in my head, when I'm thinking about System Down, I can't actually think of a cost of System Down purely because it's so cheap. It's one of those things. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you just forget about the fact that the card might have an activation cost.
Yeah, like it's one of those things that generally in my head I do.
But it is pay 1,000.
It is pay 1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Generally in my head, I know I can remember a lot of cards that have been relevant at some point, and sometimes I don't remember the cards exactly for what they are written on them, but sometimes it's by roughly what they did in the combo that they were made. So yeah, stuff like System Down, it's like it doesn't matter because when you play System Down, you've just won.
Yeah, the game is over.
Yeah.
So you don't mind at all paying those.
It's pretty much it's not a cost.
All right, so that was game 1, of course.
Yeah.
Now we're back at the table. Game 2 between Kyle Edwards from the UK and Marcello Barberi.
And we just went on a lot about System Down. However, I did spot before we started that Kyle's not even playing it.
That's interesting.
Very strange, yeah. He's gone with Fossil Diner, Pachycephalo. He's playing one of the barrier statues. I don't know which. Oh, he's playing the fire barrier statue. So, yeah, only if he faces Fire Kings is he going to have a bad time. He's playing some Kaiju monsters. That's pretty good against the Dragon Buster as well.
Yeah, because you can get rid of it. And also you cannot chain anything to that.
Yeah, Marcello here. So again, this is something we always talk about every single event, that would you put in your traps even though you're going second? And the answer is yes, because you won game 1. And Marcello has got the kind of good/bad version here, where his opponent's been able to go off a little bit. I can't see his hand, but yeah, he's going to be able to do something here at least. and Marcello's stuck with that anti-spell fragrance now. However, it still means that all that Marcello has to do is get rid of one of the scales, and then that's it. That's Marcello down. Sorry, that's Kyle down because he can't play any of the pendulum scales.
Right. So he's kicking things off.
Yep, with a Pot of Desires. I mean, tons of people just didn't play Pot of Desires when it came out, and everyone was saying, "Oh, it's a -9," and all this kinds of stuff. And yeah, it was really seen as not a great card, but I mean, it's really good. You get to draw 2 cards, which is pretty good. So we see here just Kyle going through his combos of, as I said before, the general way the Metalfoes deck plays, kind of destroying the pendulum scales, and he's gonna recuperate all of that advantage, or not recuperate, but kind of extend his advantage by performing some big pendulum summon at the end of the turn here. So he has Silvered and Steelen. So yeah, he's able to summon the 2 gold drivers. And then he's going to fuse them together.
He's obviously going somewhere.
Yep.
Is this
Definitely.
the ideal opening, or is he missing?
I think it would have been better if he had Gofu to be able to go into the Ultimaya Zolkin. But this is not so bad. He's got an, I think it's Ori Hulk. I can't see it.
Oh, come again. What was your question?
I thought it was. Oh no, it's Crimsonite.
Crimsonite, yeah.
Yeah. So the big guy.
Yeah, just a beat stick, but with 3,000, not too shabby, of course.
Yep. So, actually, just having a quick read of everything. I think it's Metalfoes counter, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because